Hey guys, it's Ant, and recently I started replaying Monster Hunter World. To give you a little bit of background, I've been a Monster Hunter fan since 3. I had 3 on my 3DS. I loved that. Then I got Generations, then I got Generations Ultimate, and a lot down the line, I got World. Now my thing was, Monster Hunter was not a really popular series, at least over here, until World came out. So Monster Hunter was this little thing that I played, and then World came out, and everyone was telling me World was the best Monster Hunter game ever. This is the reason me and Monster Hunter World in particular had a very rocky relationship when it just came out, because I was playing Generations and everyone else was like, this is fucking dog ass compared to World. World is the best game ever. World is, the Glazers were kind of frying it for me before I even got to play it, you know? Because they would see me and they go, oh, I bet half the monsters from World aren't in this little stupid silly game. So when I eventually got World, I had the highest expectations for it, especially coming out of Gen. And I didn't really like it initially. And then Iceborne came out, and Iceborne was better than base World, but I still didn't love it. Then I kind of stopped playing it. I went back to Gen, then Rise came out, I liked Rise, and then Wilds came out, and I like Wilds, not as much as Rise and Gen, but I do like them, which I feel paints a little bit of a picture of how I think about the games in itself. But yeah, that's been a little short history lesson. Now, like I said, I've been replaying World because I wanted to make sure my thoughts weren't influenced by me just being a hater back then, because everyone was telling me all my games were ass, you know? I wanted to go back in time and play a little bit of Monster Hunter World, aka the one that a lot of people will tell you is the best Monster Hunter. No Monster Hunter afterwards is ever going to be better. It's really become a point of contention in the Monster Hunter community that World is like the best game ever made, right? Rise kind of got shit on when it came out. Wilds got shit on for multiple reasons, including performance and all that stuff. But a lot of people will go, yeah, it's just not World. It's a sentiment I've heard pretty much aimed at every game, right? So I wanted to make sure, or just play World again to see if it really was all that. I'm gonna give my thoughts when I get to the end of it, but right now I'm at high rank. I just got into high rank. I'm about to fight Pink Rathian, and I wanted to give my thoughts so far. First of all, we gotta talk about the graphics. World holds up probably the best out of any of the games right now. So if you're hopping back into the game and you're expecting, oh, the graphics are gonna be a little bit dated, that's not the case here. The areas look great, the character models look great, the monsters look great. It's a great looking game. Also, a lot of this stuff, I need to preface this before we get into some of the later things. A lot of the control stuff that I love in Rise and Wilds had their start in World. World was really the reimagining of the series for the newer generation. If I say new gen Monster Hunter, I'm talking World and up. It did a lot of stuff with the controls, it changed the healing systems. If you've played anything before World, you would know that there were some massive changes in between Gen, which was the game right before it, in World, right? The healing system, the combat, the way a lot of the monsters' moves functions. Like, anyone who's fought old Gen Rathian will tell you tail swipe and charge used to be like a frame, and you just had to react beforehand. Now the moves are a lot more telegraphed, all that kind of stuff. Stuff to make it more fair, in my opinion. There's a lot of old gen jank that I think is fun and it's interesting and it adds difficulty, but I don't think it's difficulty in the right way. Like, yes, a skilled hunter will be able to react to Yangaruga doing his frame 1 charge immediately because you can kind of just read the monsters after a certain point. But from a technical standpoint, I don't think that's a very great thing, that the monster just goes, guess what? If you don't have foresight and have played this game before, you're getting fucked. You get hit immediately. A lot of stuff around the monster hunting is very interesting here. I think this is some of the best extra content that's been in the games. For instance, you can catch random monsters out in the world. Not the large monsters, but just like tiny little guys walking around. And you can put them in your room. And this is just such a nice thing. I mean, it's not even necessary. It's not something I would beg every other Monster Hunter game to have. But it's so nice when you just go around and you catch like bees and bugs and frogs and shit, and you can just have them decorate your room which upgrades over the course of the game. It's nice. I imagine most people won't even have noticed that this is a feature or touched it, but it's really, I guess, rewarding. It's a nice little visual treat for the player that wants to experiment with everything in the game. Speaking about capturing monsters, when you capture monsters, you can see them just around. They'll be somewhere on the map just asleep in like a crate or something. This is awesome. I genuinely don't know why this has not come back in any game since. It's such a cool little detail, but I think World in general just did great with a lot of cool little details. I would say it's the main strength of this game. While Rise and Wilds, I say, focused more on the combat, World was just about the world, you know, going around, seeing it, picking up shit, all that stuff. What else do I gotta say? I think the hunting here is very interesting. It's kind of a double-edged sword, as we're going to get into. When you're looking for monsters for the first time, you gotta find their tracks. If it's like Agenath, he'll like snot on trees and you can, you know, pick that up. If it's Baroth or something, you can see mud, scratch marks. It all changes depending on the monster. It adds this tracking and, you know, making it feel like you're really finding these guys, which is neat in concept. I think it is cool in concept. It's very unique from the other games. I guess that would be this game's unique thing. But once you've done it enough times, it can leave a different impression on you. Let's word it like that. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Because I'm trying to do this from positives and then go into the things I feel a little bit more nuanced on. The Clutch Claw, I think, is a interesting addition. I'd initially wait till, you know, I get to the Iceborne section to talk about it, but I wasn't aware that when they added the Clutch Claw, it even applies to when you just open the game, you have it. I think it opens some interesting stuff up. Like, I've been using the Lance. I know some people just said, boo, click off this, but Lance is the corniest weapon ever. I know, but when you have the Lance parry in this game, instead of just doing the parry, you can use the Clutch Claw, so you can parry the thing, swing around and grab him. This is very cool. I don't really even have anything else to say about it. I think this is a super awesome addition. If the monster does a big move and you don't want to waste the stamina parrying it, you can just use this Clutch Claw attack and get over the thing. It feels great. It's the best way to describe it. I think it's super cool. I think normal Clutch Claw, aside from that, is very interesting. Tenderizing the monsters' areas, pause, that sounded really weird, but tenderizing the monsters' limbs, I think is a neat little addition. I don't feel super strongly about it. I think the way it's done in Wilds is a little bit more natural, but this works too. It also helps if an area is hard and you can't normally hit it, you can tenderize it and then you can just hit it like it's a normal spot. Like if you're fighting Baroth, one of the main annoying things about him is that his head is always like, if your weapon hits it, you'll bounce off. That won't happen if you tenderize it first, which I think is neat. Splatting the monsters into walls, this is also cool, but I think it feels a little scripted after a point, because the monsters also give you this big flinch where it's like, hey, grab me. It's like, all right. So usually you'll hit the monster, they'll do that flinch back, and then you Clutch Claw to their face, you smack them to the wall, and then you shoot them, and then they hit the wall, and then they get up and they get enraged. This will happen very often, and after a certain point it's like, okay, this is the thing that occurs. And with the Lance parry that you get, and I'm assuming the other weapons get it, but I haven't been able to dive around with a ton of the weapons yet, given how, you know, early I am in the game. If you could just dynamically use that parry, get onto the monster's head, smack him over, and then knock him into the wall, that would be really awesome. But the thing is, the Clutch Claw knocking them into the wall mechanic doesn't work if they're enraged, which is, I understand why from a balancing standpoint you can't always just knock them into the walls, but it makes it feel kind of wacky at certain points when you manage to clutch onto something, or they give you the long flinch opening to clutch onto them and you can't use the big damaging option out of it. Is there anything else I want to straight glaze? I don't know. Not at the moment, not that I can think of. So I guess we could talk about all the other stuff. Well, we got to talk about the gameplay, right? Gameplay wise, when it comes to purely fighting the monsters, this is probably the weakest new gen Monster Hunter game, which isn't even necessarily a bad thing. I think it'd be crazy to go, oh, you're telling me they made improvements to the series going on? What kind of stupid shit is that? But it kind of shows, especially once you come off of Wilds. I think the preference between preferring an old gen Monster Hunter game to a new one, that's a different thing entirely. Like I would say that's more subjective because it's like a really big jump in difference, right? But when you get to World and Wilds just gives you a lot more options with the weapons, right? And then there's focus mode. Rise has the wire bug system. And given World only really has the Clutch Claw edition, and the fact that Rise and Wilds just naturally added on top of World, you just have less options in the game. So if you asked me if I wanted to fight a monster in Rise or Wilds, I'd probably want to use their control schemes more than this one in World. It leads to fighting a lot of the monsters feeling like, I don't know, kind of like it's just kind of happening. There's not a weapon that I think is here that I'm like, oh, this is just significantly better than its Rise and Wilds version. I can't think of one, honestly. Rise is kind of unfair because it's the action game and they have the wire bugs, and the wire bugs just made things feel more impactful in my opinion. But Wilds is a more mainline Monster Hunter game, right? Wilds, I would say, is kind of like World 2. So coming back to World and going like, oh, all my options are missing, it doesn't feel great. If you came for just purely fighting the monsters in Monster Hunter, I don't think this would be the game for you to come back to. I think that the fighting here is probably the weakest again out of the new gen games. Then we have to get onto the hunting monsters bit where you have to follow tracks. Oh my god, it's like, I think it's fun when you're looking for tracks maybe the first time, right? But then you have to notice that every time you have to fight a new monster, you gotta follow these nut-ass footprints for a good while. There is a lot of time where you're just sitting there, let me get this footprint. Oh, let me get this footprint. Oh, look, another footprint. Some snot on the wall. Now where's Agenath? It's like, oh brother. I think it's cool the first time. Again, some people go, well, the hunting aspects of Monster Hunter, they're just completely gone. I just don't think this is fun to do repeatedly, right? And some people might go, well, in the old gen games, you had to do that too. In the old gen games, you had Psycho Serum. Like, if you really did not feel like looking around for the monsters, you could just pop a Psycho Serum and go, oh, okay. It was different. And then you have to factor in the maps weren't as big in old gen, so you didn't have to spend as much time just walking around. I think it was the Agenath mission. I could not find him. Bro was just in hiding. When they had me go to the Wildspire Wastes, I originally found Otogiron, and you're supposed to find Radoban, but Radoban's in the complete opposite direction. So I went down to where Otogiron was, and I keep walking down that way, and I'm like, I can't find jack diddly shit. And then I look it up, and they're like, oh, you have to go the complete opposite way to find Radoban. So it's like, when they do shit like that, that's very annoying. And another thing about the general movement of this game is I find it so interesting this is the game without the good mount system. I know in Iceborne you get the Wolg, but that is less freeing than the Palamute and the Sacred. And I find it funny that this is the game without the Palamute and the Sacred, despite the fact I think this is the game that needs it the most. This game has some pretty big maps. So the fact that you gotta sit there with your thumb up your ass, walk it, I'll get to the monster eventually. It's like, bro, come on. I understand they did good by adding the Palamute and the Sacred into Rise and Wilds, and it does save a lot of time. I do agree with that. But World needed that. World really needed that, in my opinion. Way more than at least Rise. Rise had wire bug movement, which was super fun to do. A lot of times I wouldn't even bring a dog because I'm like, I'm Spider-Man, and I just start fucking flinging everywhere to get to the monster. In World, I'm literally just walking around. Brother, I was fighting a Rathalos, and Rathalos flies away, and I'm walking on foot like a bum for like a solid minute because I don't have any other way to reach him. You gotta get really good with camp movement in this game because it's really the only kind of movement you're gonna be doing, and I think it's kind of annoying. Even the Wolg, when you get it, it's not that fast. It's not Palamute or Sacred fast. I think they thought of the solution and then they said, oh, let's save it for the next game. Which I think is kind of wacky. Another big thing that I've heard people talking about is, Rise and Wilds, they're getting too easy. They're just giving the player too many options. I'm not trying to hear that, genuinely, especially at the point I'm at. Hello, Vitality Mantle. Hello, Health Booster. Hello, Vigor Wasp Heal I can call on command. Hello, Cat reviving me. Hello, Cat putting down a Vigor Wasp jar. I'm like, there's no way that we're talking about how, man, all these newer games are getting easier and easier. And the Cat is I've used like maybe 2 mega potions the entire time I've played the game. I've barely healed myself, which is like, and it's just because I don't need to. Even when I'm fighting these monsters in high rank and my armor is high rank level, right? I don't need to because I'm like, oh, the cat's got it. Again, I always found this a weird point that they were like, oh yeah, this new gen Monster Hunter is getting easier. Like, look at Wilds. Wilds is so easy. If you've ever played any game from Generations and down, like I kind of said at the start, those games would hoe the fuck out of you just because they could. If you're any perfect example for like longsword users, right? The thing is with fighting Rajang with a longsword is it's very fun to fight him in new gen because you can parry pretty much everything he does, right? Not even pretty much, you just can. So when he does things like the punch flurry, it's like, oh wow, this is awesome. It's a fast hitting move that I could just go swing, swing, like that's cool. When you fight Rajang in old gen, first of all, longsword didn't even have a parry unless you're talking about gen specifically with Valor style, which even then the parry worked completely different to how it does now. But when Rajang finished his punch flurry, he'd put his hands down and it would do tremor. A lot of monsters, like I kind of said at the start, again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but it affects this point, would have certain hit effects on moves that they just do not have anymore. If you fought Gypsros in Wilds, when he gets annoyed and he does his little hopping mad thing, that used to do damage to you. If your stun meter was high enough, it could stun you. Every move was kind of like this. They all had weird, awkward hitboxes or have just been slowed down in new gen. Rathian or Yangaruga, tail swipe used to be instant. He would just frame 1 flip and you had to be ready for it. Charge. If they did that move, you had to be frame 1 ready for it. So when people go, oh yeah, new Monster Hunter has become so easy. Yeah! I think Monster Hunter's been moving into a more accessible kind of format, right? And I don't even really mind that, but it's the fact that people who are playing some of the newer games are now going, hey, wait a minute! Despite the fact that when people were saying that World was getting easier than the previous games, they were like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not true at all! I hate to break it to you, there was not a vitality mantle or a health booster or like half of this random shit that's in World, combined with the old controls and the old cheap moves that I brought up before. It was a different time. So it's like, oh man, they're making Monster Hunter Wilds so accessible to new players. This is so lame. Meanwhile, like most of those people who want to dive into that argument started with the most accessible Monster Hunter game known to man. Even look at the skill system. You guys know there used to be negative skills? You could get guard -10 and you would get guard -1 as a stat. That kind of shit does not exist anymore. They simplified that entire system. The healing system. You can now walk while healing. You don't need to drink a potion and then flex. It's like, what are we talking about with this, this accessibility bullshit? They're really pandering to the casual audience. Like, if Monster Hunter getting easier or harder, that's a whole different discussion. I just think the hypocrisy is fucking wacky as hell to me. What else is there to talk about with World? Let's see. Because it's like, I don't even think I hate it. There's a lot of stuff I do like, but it's like everything around fighting the monsters and not the monsters themselves, you know? I love making the world, I like making my characters room up. I think the little small monster catching thing, like I said at the start, is very interesting. I think it's really corny that Monster Hunter Wilds does not have that, despite the fact you can catch the monsters. Like, all of this other cute extra stuff. But the main meat and potatoes of what you're going to be doing in Monster Hunter is fighting the monster. And I think out of the new gen games, I might even throw gen in there, but that's more of my opinion trying to seep through. Like, is worse here. Like, genuinely, even, let's look at the knockdown state. In Rise and in Wilds, you have a tool to help you get up if you get fully knocked down, right? In World, if you get knocked over by an attack, you just have to watch your character slowly get up and take their time. And it really changes the flow of these fights, in my opinion. It's not necessarily bad, it's just like, okay. It's kind of a reason why I'm like, I think Wilds flows a little bit better because you could just get up with the Sacred. Sacred's got a few problems, don't get me wrong. However, the option is there. Rise, you can just use the tether thing and get up. It just helps the flow of the fight more. What else is there? There was something big I was going to say and it kind of slipped because my screen flickered in front of my face and it like brain wiped me. A lot of people say Iceborne is going to be or Iceborne is the savior of this game. A lot of people phrase it like World and Iceborne came out at the exact same time. I'm gonna be honest, low rank Monster Hunter World is kind of frying me. And it unfortunately, it's tied to what I just said with the last point of the controls being worse. It's like with Rise, there was so much action-oriented stuff that I could play around with, that despite the fact some of the earlier monsters aren't the best, I could at least get hooked onto that. With Wilds, you got the whole focus mode mechanic to play with. A lot of the weapons, like if you're a dual blades user, you're gonna be like, oh, I can do flips and shit. Like all these counters and stuff you can play around with. But low rank World doesn't really have the gameplay nowadays. Back in the day when World just came out, sure. But nowadays, if you're going back and you're like, oh, I have to go through low rank, it's kind of just a slug because you're fighting bums. Like Kuliaku, like who else was in there? Great Jaggeris, bro. Why are they slipping me completely? There's Adjanath, low rank Adjanath, but I think people said he was the wall of World and he was insanely hard. I don't even really remember my first fight with that Adjanath, if you want me to be honest. It's like, there's a lot of goobers you have to get through before you hit high rank, and I feel like it's kind of a slog at that earlier point. Once you can get your build together with high rank, it's kind of picking up, but I'll have to see where that goes from here. Again, in comparison to Rise and Wilds, I think that like they're just kind of gripping me more in that aspect. It does what it does. I don't really love Arch-Tempereds. I think Tempereds are just some of the most boring special variants visually. They're just shiny and that's it. I understand some people might go, well, this goes for Wilds too, doesn't it? Yes. I just think Arch-Tempereds are kind of lazy. And the fact that Wilds reused them, I think that's kind of whack too. I mean, let's look at hyper monsters. Yeah, they had moves that sped up, and in old World, that's kind of crazy. Visually, they look cool. Their pupils would be gone. They had the glowing spots, and the glowing spots played a point gameplay-wise, right? If you hit them, it would help your hunter gauge go on. That was pretty cool, right? You look at the anomaly monsters from Rise, and they would usually be tinted red. That shit was pretty cool. Even the Rage Raid monsters, the ones from like stories with the glowing red eyes, I think they look cool too. So then you get to like World and Wilds and it's like, they're shiny. That shit is corny. Speaking of corny, I can't believe I almost let this slide. Zorah Magdaros. Oh my holy loser. I mean, I think the concept of the fight is cool. The concept of climbing on the monster and fighting, quote unquote, fighting it, but man, it's like, that shit is corny. You're just sitting there hitting cubes. That is like his whole fight. You climb around him and you hit random magma cores and sometimes they spray lava on you. And that's it. I think the fight where Nergigante shows up a little bit, that's neat. I wish they let you just genuinely fight Nergigante on the back of Zorah Magdaros, like completely, but they don't. At least in the first two fights that I've had, he just kind of appears and then he fucks off after like 3 seconds. So you're left with climbing magma core guy. And after you're done climbing the magma cores, you just shoot him with cannons for a little bit, which is kind of boring. I think the part where, like set design wise, I think it's neat because the fact that you're starting off on like the top of this, I don't know, balcony thing, and that's where all the cannons are. And then when Zorah gets close, you jump down onto a boat and then you cut on the Dragonator. That's a very cool moment right there. But a majority of the fight is you just sitting there, cannonball. Cannonball, cannonball, fire. Hold on, let me get some more. Cannonball, cannonball. I do like, I get, like, this is really what I'm talking about with World acing everything except the gameplay. I like when you're carrying the cannonballs, your cat will pick up the cannonballs and put them in the cannon with you. That's cool. I do really like that. That was really cute. But the act of fighting Zorah kind of sucks. And the fact that he's like this big fight, they kind of hype up all low rank. Going into high rank, it's like, okay. Kind of a cornball, but alright, I guess. I think that fight was kind of corny, but I don't think that's an extremely rare sentiment. I think even among World fans, like complete World lovers, that they don't tend to love Zorah Magdaros' fight. Is there anything else? I'm trying to think, because I've had a lot of thoughts while looking for these pink Rathian tracks. That was the part I was on, by the way. I don't think you can walk into pink Rathian normally, at least in my experience. I've been walking around fighting shit, improving my build to try to get guard up for my lance. and I've just been looking for pink Rathian tracks this entire time, and it has been frying me fierce. I'll tell you what, it has been cooking me. The fact that they are making me slow down and stop and look for this funk ass, corny ass monsters tracks. I mean, when I mentioned it before, looking for Puke's tracks, Palumu's tracks, those were a little bit slow, but you could at least naturally walk into those guys, right? Pink Rathian, you need like all of her tracks before the mission shows up, and that wouldn't piss me off if it was like Nergigante or like Teostra, like an Elder Dragon that matters. Pink Rathian? Really? Pink Rathian? But like, no one is glazing Pink Rathian. Again, this is a game with Gold Rathian at the end of it, right? A more interesting subspecies of this monster. Pink Rathian. We gotta hype up and make you collect tracks for God knows how long. For fucking Pink Rathian. I mean, blow me dry. Ew, it was frying me. It was frying me fierce. You guys have no idea. I just got the Pink Rathian tracks quest done, but man, I was being drug around like a corpse looking for that, right? If I'm trying to think of anything else I'd have to say in the future, because I can't think of anything right now other than what I've said that's really caught my attention. But I know I'm gonna hate the Witcher quest because I despised it originally. I remember hating when he was just like, a puke tied to a tree. Like, I think if you could skip through it, that would have been fine, but you can't. And I remember that annoying me. I remember the Leshen fight sucking, so that's upsetting. I'm very curious how the Safi Jiva fight's gonna go. I would rather not look for a group of people, but this game doesn't have like CPU hunters from my memory. Like, there's nothing like the Rise or Wild system where it's like, oh yes, the support hunters. I don't think that's a thing here. Like, I feel like you kind of need Safi Jiva to be fought with people, at least from what I remember. So that's gonna be a problem. I'll get to fight Kulve Taroth. I didn't really get to fight him the first time I played World, because when I initially beat World, I was kind of just over it, and I didn't really want to play a ton of it. And when I came back was Iceborne, so I had no reason to fight him, because then I was getting master rank armor, so he kind of just became irrelevant. So that's gonna be cool. I think a lot of the crossovers here are neat, like seeing Sakura from Street Fighter, Leon from Resident Evil. That was a really wild pick, by the way. All that kind of stuff is very neat. I think out of the new gen games, which again is only like Rise and Wilds at the moment, Wilds doesn't even have its expansion yet. I think World just had the best crossovers for right now. The graphics really help because it's like, wow, that's really so and so. But yeah, seeing Geralt, seeing Ryu, all these people, really neat. Getting the Devil May Cry, oh yeah, Devil May Cry was in there too. And getting Dante's Charge Blade. I remember loving Dante's Charge Blade. It was sick. The Moogle. I hope Wilds gets all this content, because even though I am a Rise fan, I have to be honest, Rise right now, out of the last 4 Monster Hunter games, it just really didn't get a ton of love in that regard. I mean, we got Akuma. Like, is that it? I can't really think of anything else off like the back of my hand of what it got crossover wise. And then Wilds got Akuma, significantly worse gameplay wise, but that's a whole different point. And then they got Omega, and I think Omega is probably one of the most fun fights in Wilds right now. And I feel like that's a very good sign that Wilds is going to get a lot of love when it comes to crossover stuff. World's got that point at the moment. Is there anything else I'm looking forward to? Iceborne. I mean, I feel like a lot of the more interesting monsters in this game are stuck behind Iceborne. The base cast of Monster Hunter World is not really drawing me, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, Deviljho was added in a title update, so I guess I gotta fight him. I'm not really the biggest Deviljho lover. I don't hate him, but he's just kind of there. I'm really looking forward to fighting Rajang and Barioth, because when I had just restarted playing World, I fought Barioth and I was like, wow, the fact that there's no get up option is frying me. Like, trying to catch Barioth in this game with Charge Blade was pissing me off so bad because he was just fucking jumping everywhere. I don't mind fighting him in Rise because I can keep up with him there, but in this game, I was sitting there, yes. And then he jumps to the side, and then I slowly walk up with my Charge Blade. And then he jumps to the other side, yes. And then he attacks, and then he flies back, and then he does a fucking cartwheel, and then he kills me in real life, and then he flips back into the screen, and then I'll get a hit off. It's like, I did win the hunt, but I was like, golly, bro. You are frying me right now. But I think that's it. overall, World is kind of shaping out to be my least favorite Monster Hunter game. I mean, I don't even think it's bad. I'm sorry, I'm gonna do the Dark Souls 2 fan thing, right? Where the people who don't like it go, it's a bad Souls game, but it's not a bad game. I mean, I don't think it's a bad video game. I don't hate it. It's not me going like, man, if World didn't exist, the world would be a better place. I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying in comparison to the other games I've played, maybe not 3. Maybe not 3 so much. Going back to Monster Hunter 3, it's a little grim if you're not looking at it through like pure nostalgia. But in comparison to Gen, Rise, and Wilds, World is kind of behind all of them for me. It's just that there's a lot of dragging the feet, I feel. Like a lot of points where I'm sitting there like, ah yes, before I hunt the monster, I'm going to do 8,000 other fucking things because I need to. And then I have to watch this unskippable cutscene in Monster Hunter, known for its amazing storytelling. That's a thing more so just because I'm replaying it and I kind of remember the story a bit. But, yeah, I think that's all I needed to say. This has been a nice little rant. Hopefully my opinion on World flips and I become the biggest World fan ever in history. But going back to it, it's probably my least favorite replay. I had to replay all of Rise because my friend got it on console and I wanted to play with him. I had to play Wilds kind of recently. I loved Omega. I didn't get to fight Gog Masios yet, but he looks cool too. I was replaying Gen not that long ago. Gen, with its styles and stuff, I think is unmatched. I don't think, unless we get a straight up Generations 2, which I think would be awesome. I think if they made a Generations game in the style of the new gen games, I think that would be the best game Monster Hunter would make. But due to Generations styles and just how much options you have as the player, I think that's going to be a unique game that if you love it, it's just going to stay undefeated for you, right? World's just kind of hanging in there. Now you're dealing with Cut-In M from a few days later. I have now beat Base World. And by beat Base World, I mean I beat Xeno'jiiva. And have any of my points here changed? Not really. The monster track thing just kinda sucks. Going after monsters after they fly away really far kinda sucks. A lot of this stuff doesn't really get better. And what really sucks is that Monster Hunter World, I noticed this going on, it's the bum factory. A lot of these monsters I don't care about. It sucks to say that, but it feels like Iceborne is the thing that held all of these super interesting monsters in it. Because Base World, the only monsters that really picked things up were at the tippy end of the quest where you fight Teostra, Kushala, Valhazak, and Nergigante, and I guess Xeno'jiiva. But the Xeno'jiiva fight was not all that. I don't know what I remembered it being, to be honest. Truth be told, when I think of Xeno'jiiva, my brain usually just goes to Sapphi'jiiva because that was the endgame fight. But the Xeno'jiiva fight was kind of just there. I mean, his moveset wasn't really that threatening. I fainted once, that probably showed on screen, and it's just because I mistimed how long his explosion followed up. I misjudged that. I thought it went way further than it did, and I could have just walked away from it multiple times. I mean, other than that, the base roster here is a bunch of characters you're either gonna feel kind of indifferent about or you're just not gonna like, you know? I mean, deadass, I don't really know what else to say. I shouldn't say that you will feel, that at least that's how I feel, right? Like, Kieran would not have made me go, oh my gosh, Base World, no way. This has just kind of been the overall weakest replay experience I've had. Again, replaying Rise, I didn't mind that. Nara is one of my favorite monsters, so getting to that fight by itself, I would have been like, wow! But that's ignoring Magna Malo and all of them, right? Wilds, I haven't replayed Wilds, I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't jump from side to side like a little cartoon character thinking of replaying Wilds, but Wilds gameplay would probably hold me better than this game's has, but it's just been Goon Central. Goon Central with some of the worst new gen gameplay. It's not really a good combination. All of the cool stuff that I mentioned earlier is still cool, but in Monster Hunter, where the main meat of the game is hunting the monsters, when that's your weakest aspect, that kind of stinks. I want to play Iceborne, and I want Iceborne to be like this big thing that saves it. Because some of the monsters I assumed you would just fight in the main story were either added in like a title update or are in Iceborne. I remember sitting there, I wonder when I fight Zenogre. Didn't. Never happened. You know, stuff like that. But yeah, that's really been my thought so far. It's not the worst game ever. I'm not gonna say it like it's a horrendously ass experience. I've played ass games. If you've seen my backroom survival video, I have thugged it out through some games. This has just been kind of mediocre. It's not like I was getting super annoyed by anything, but in comparison to how I play Rise and Wilds normally, it just was not doing anything for me. Also, I guess I should point out monster parts. That's something I didn't bring up in the rest of this video. I feel like grinding for monster parts just takes longer here. They barely give you anything. It's crazy. I wanted to make Kushala's armor, and I had to beat him like 5 times just to get the pieces from him. That's ignoring the random Legiana plate, and I think I had to get a like Aragon chin piece for some other part of my set. That kind of stunk, not gonna lie to you. I feel like they're very stingy with stats here. Maybe that's just a me thing, but when I was trying to put my set together, I really just wanted guard 5 and then guard up. And it was like a mess trying to get that set to work, because nothing really had guard. I was sitting there with the Barioth set for not Barioth, Baroth set, just thugging it out with like guard 2 until I got the Basil Geese, and then I had to grind Basil Geese for a while, and only at the Xeno'jiva fight, which again I could have gotten it earlier if I just sat down and started grinding earlier, but only at the Xeno'jiva fight did I have guard 5, and I never got guard up. That just never came with the rest of my build, so that kind of stinks. It like, the build crafting really was not hooking me in base world. I hate to say it. I don't remember being that bad in Rise and Wilds. I remember being able to at least get the stats I wanted. Here I was thugging it out for like a grain of rice of a stat. It was a little crazy. That I know just gets better in Iceborne, considering it's master rank, and master rank gives you more stats to work with, obviously. But here, that's really been all I've had to say about World. Like, I'm probably gonna make another video when I get into the meat of Iceborne. That might be a while from now, to be honest. I'm kind of okay stepping away from this for a second, but as long as you're respectful, I'm glad to discuss with you in the comments. And with that, I've been M, and I am out.